From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Jonathan Ambarian in Helena. 2 new state laws making changes to local zoning requirements have been put on hold by a judge. I'll have a closer look at the case.
And this week, many Americans went back to work after the holidays, and that includes Congress. With a looming shutdown and more to come in January, we're going to check in on their week 1 progress.
Many Americans plan to cut back on alcohol as part of Dry January. I'm Michael George with the health benefits and tips on how to succeed.
I'm John Riley. 3 Montana veterans are helping keep the promise that no one gets left behind.
Is 6:31 on this Wednesday edition of Montana This Morning. Jay McDonald and Matt Elwell with you. Well, it's Wednesday. We made it halfway through the week, Matt, and it's comfortable conditions.
Third. This is our version, Montana's version of Dry January. We haven't had any snow.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we're abiding by that resolution, I guess.
It's not going to last for long. I don't think we're going to get a week into it before we start seeing snow. Not bad, though.
No.
That's certainly a positive for us, especially as we're looking later in the season.
Absolutely.
Most of our early morning temperatures, single digits, maybe some low double digits. It's a cold morning, but not a lot of wind. The clouds are on the increase as we're starting the day. Our temperatures today should be into the 30s, light wind, partly to mostly cloudy skies for the afternoon. We are setting the stage for snow. I'm going to talk more about the timing and impacts coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. It is 6:32 now. The Bozeman Police Department is asking the public for help in locating 34-year-old Megan Ashley Stedman. Now, Stedman has been missing since middle of December 15th, and was last seen in the Bozeman-Livingston area. That all according to a Bozeman Police social media post. The post goes on to say that Stedman is described as an African-American, Native American, 5'7", and 195 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Megan is known to be associated with a tan motor home bearing Washington license plates, and the motor home has obvious damage to the rear driver's side. Bozeman Police Department detectives believe Megan is missing under suspicious circumstances and are concerned for her safety. Anyone with information is urged to contact Detective Sergeant King at 406-582-2242. You can see that number on your screen right there, or of course you can call the Bozeman Police Department at 406-582-2000. Now, during the 2023 Montana legislative session, lawmakers passed a series of bills overhauling zoning and land use rules with the stated goal of addressing the state's housing shortage. But a judge has put 2 of those bills on hold as a Bozeman lawsuit is challenging them. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian is going to explain the case for us.
An organization made up of homeowners in several Montana cities has filed suit against 4 new state laws, each of them making changes in how local governments manage development and zoning. They say the new laws threaten the character of their neighborhoods, and a judge in Bozeman agreed to put 2 of them on hold when they were set to go into effect January 1st.
I think this was way too rushed, and in a way, I think we'd be doing the state a favor if they went back to the drawing boards and did a more competent job.
Jim Getz is the attorney for the group challenging the bills, called Montanans Against Irresponsible Densification. He said the organization has about 12 official members, but that hundreds more homeowners, especially in Bozeman, share their concerns about the impacts this series of changes is going to have on their neighborhoods.
If it were only duplexes or only accessory dwelling units, might not be such a big thing, but this is a slippery slope.
Mike Salvani, a retired judge who took over the case when the previous judge was substituted, granted a preliminary injunction on Senate Bill 323, which would require larger cities to allow duplexes where single-family homes are allowed, and Senate Bill 528, which would require smaller accessory dwelling units be allowed on single-family lots. In his order, Salvani said the bills were implemented arbitrarily and would unfairly harm homeowners in existing single-family neighborhoods. Supporters of the new laws sharply criticized the lawsuit and the judge's decision.
They are frankly telling people what they can and can't do with their private property.
State Senator Forrest Mandeville, a Republican from Columbus, sponsored one of the bills being challenged. He said the plaintiffs expressed NIMBY, or not in my backyard ideas, wanting development but not near their own homes. And he argued the laws are not going to have the impact on neighborhoods that opponents suggest.
This is what we call gentle density. We're not talking high-rise apartments on every parcel. And no one in these bills or elsewhere is forcing any type of development on these parcels.
Gets pushed back against the characterization of the plaintiffs as NIMBYs.
If you lived in a nice house in a quiet tree-lined neighborhood and you had a multiplex going up next to you, you can call it NIMBYism. People want to protect their properties.
The Montana Department of Justice is defending these laws in court. A department spokesperson said they're reviewing the judge's order to determine their next steps. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
And the first week of the year marks the beginning for Congress members, and January is slated to be a busy one. Scripps political correspondent Joe St. George takes a look at what we can expect as Congress gets back to work.
For millions of Americans, it's back to work. The holidays are over, and if you're dreading returning to work, imagine being a member of Congress. The to-do list is long, it is exhaustive, and it is complicated in the month of January. The most urgent priority is the possibility of a partial government shutdown on January 19th. Emphasis on the word partial. That's because some government agencies and programs expire then, while others don't expire until February 2nd. Potential programs that would be impacted include low-income assistance programs offered at the FDA, some Department of Agriculture programs as well, impacting farmers, and potentially some veterans services. Active duty members of the military are not impacted until February 2nd. The Department of Defense funding expires on that date. And it's not just a funding fight Congress is dealing with. The same debate from early December is back. What to do about Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and the southern border. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson will be in Eagle Pass, Texas on Wednesday to highlight ongoing issues of the southern border. Remember, Republicans would like to see substantive policy changes at the border in exchange for funding the Ukraine war. And if January wasn't busy enough, the Iowa caucuses are happening on January 15th. The New Hampshire primary is on January 23rd. Presidential politics has a way of impacting congressional politics from time to time. For instance, if former President Trump has big wins in Iowa and New Hampshire, suddenly what he says about Ukraine policy at the southern border, well, that matters a lot to Republicans here in Washington and could impact these high stakes negotiations. Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.
And many people are trying to cut back on their alcohol consumption after the holidays. But dry January, as it's known, Michael George has some tips on how to succeed and improve your health.
New Yorker Jalal Talib gave up alcohol for a month and noticed some big improvements.
Sleep has gotten much deeper and better. I feel stronger physically and mentally.
After the excesses of the holidays, many Americans consider going cold turkey for the entire month of January. But it can be daunting.
I feel like I sleep a lot better when I don't drink, so I'm interested in trying.
Alcohol use and abuse rose sharply during the pandemic. But a survey from the American Psychiatric Association found about a third of Americans say they're drinking less over the last 3 years.
I think one of the biggest benefits of dry January is it gives all of us a chance to re-examine our relationship with alcohol.
Cutting back can be good for everything from heart health, blood pressure, and liver function to improved sleep, mental clarity, and mood. Dr. Jeremy Kidd says many find it tough to go the whole month without drinking, but there are some things you can do to succeed.
Setting short-term achievable goals, so sometimes taking that week by week rather than an entire month.
He also suggests using the buddy system and talking to a therapist if you need extra support. Talib says after finding he could part with alcohol temporarily, he decided to give it up for good.
Everything is great in moderation, but with alcohol in specific, if you stop it for a little, it'll make a big difference in your life.
A small step that could lead to some big life changes. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Now, if you want to help cut something back, the website Rethinking Drinking by the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism has some helpful resources for you. Now, back in some Treasure State headlines, more than 23,000 Marines died in the Pacific Theater during World War II. And MTN's John Riley caught up with a Montana veteran who traveled more than 4,000 miles to be there as one fallen Marine finally makes his way home.
A core part of the U.S. military is a commitment. No one gets left behind. But the realities of war can complicate that promise. 3 Montana veterans recently helped a Marine return home 80 years after he died.
We always try to bring those people home, there's a chance we will. That's what we do.
Tim Soa served 3 years in the Marine Corps, 10 in the Marine Corps Reserve, and 27 in the Montana National Guard before retiring in 2011. He recently returned from Kiribati, where he participated in the return of the remains of a Marine who died in the Battle of Tarawa.
Fred Hamilton, Mike Pryor of Whitefish Post, and myself went. And it turned out that we coincided with the 80th anniversary of the battle.
Remnants of Japanese and American forces still stand on the island more than a half-century since the end of World War II. The Battle of Tarawa was the first American offensive in the Central Pacific region, with the intent of capturing Japanese-held territory within the Gilbert Islands. It was also the first time U.S. forces faced serious Japanese opposition to an amphibious landing. More than 4,000 Japanese forces and 1,000 U.S. forces were killed. The Montana veterans participated in the 80th anniversary commemoration ceremony alongside members of the U.S. Embassy, Marine Corps, and the President of Kiribati. They were also there to honor the Marine, as his remains were sent to Hawaii for identification.
You're humbled to know that that person gave his life for you. And when we sent him on the plane, you're humbled again. And then when we walk the beaches, you're really humbled to know what they went through. You're walking there, but you don't have bullets or shells explode around you.
For the last decade, History Flight has been working with the Department of Accountability to identify more than 600 remains of the Marines killed during the Battle of Tarawa. But there's still hundreds of unaccounted Marines who died during the battle that the organizations say they're committed to bring home.
Thank the state of Montana VFW for letting us go to that, and everybody that was contributed. It showed their warmth and their devotion to bringing people home, and that's what matters to us. Taking care of our veterans, be they alive or be they dead. We want to bring them back.
Thank you very much for that story. Now we're going to take a short break here on Montana This Morning, but when we come back, many people want to get physically stronger in the new year. But what about making your wallet stronger?
I'm John Matteries. A new year means New Year's resolutions. And this year, a lot of people are thinking financial resolutions. I've got some great ideas coming up.